Hi everyone, and welcome again to Nettle, the go-to place to learn about business, finance, economics, and much more. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that bell notification button below so that you never miss fresh videos and tutorials you might be interested in. Many thanks to our current Patreon supporters and YouTube members for making this video possible, and we'd also greatly appreciate if you consider supporting us as well. So please check the link in the description or click the join button below for more details. My name is Seva, and today we're investigating yet another time series econometrics model that is heavily used to model interest rates. And the hero of our today's tutorial is the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model they have developed in 1985 as an extension of the Vasicek 1977 model. We have got a separate tutorial on that, so if you're interested in the Vasicek model, please check this video out after you finish this one. The Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model implements a version of the Ornstein-Uhlenbeck process, which is a stochastic process of mean-reversion, and it incorporates a very prominent macroeconomic tendency of interest rates to return back to their long-run equilibrium after some short-term disturbances caused either by the business cycles or the monetary policy of the central banks. So here we have got an equation in continuous form, and it involves the long-run equilibrium value of B, that is the long-term value of interest rates that's deemed fair, and we've got the convergence speed A that brings those rates back to the equilibrium value if there is a disturbance that puts them above or below the long-run equilibrium value in the short run. And if you notice, if the deviation of the rates from the equilibrium value is negative, that is, if the rates are above the equilibrium, the convergence term would be negative, bringing the rates back down to the equilibrium level. And if this term is positive, that is, the rates are below the equilibrium level B, the convergence would bring them up to the equilibrium level. So we expect A to be a positive parameter and B to be some positive value of the long-run equilibrium interest rates. And positive interest rates is one of the key concepts that Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model takes into account, whereas the Vasicek model does not. In the Vasicek model, nothing prevents interest rates from having a negative long-run equilibrium value, or at least to stay in the negative domain for quite a long time. And in the 70s and 80s, when these models were developed, it has been considered unnatural for interest rates to be negative for a long period of time. Right now, we see that negative interest rates are more of a widespread phenomenon. However, having a model that prevents interest rates from becoming negative or staying at zero is a welcome addition to modeling, for example, high-yield bond spreads or something like that. And the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model augments that by including the square root of the interest rates in its random disturbance term. Here we introduce conditional heteroskedasticity into the model, and this basically takes into account the fact that if interest rates are very high, they are also more volatile. And that can involve high inflation environments or environments of overly expansionary monetary policy. This is perhaps a reasonable adjustment to make for the Vasicek model, and what it also does is it prevents interest rates from going negative or stay at zero for long periods of time by the virtue of the inclusion of this square root term in the random disturbance component. However, it can be tricky to estimate the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model or at least calibrate that on real-world data in the continuous form. So what we do is we introduce a discrete form of the model, basically representing this differential equation as a difference equation, and then we modify it a little bit still so that the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model can be estimated easily using standard OLS. We simply divide both sides of the equation by the square root of lagged interest rate. So here we've got square root of RT minus 1, and effectively implement a weighted least squares estimation. We divide both the dependent variable by this component as well as the right-hand side. And that allows us to treat our error term as homoskedastic because we adjust for this term explicitly. And it leads us regressing the difference of the interest rates normalized by the square root of lagged interest rate onto a weighted constant, adjusted constant, and the square root of lagged interest rates. And that quite naturally estimates the parameter negative a over here, as well as the AB product. And that allows us to extract the parameters of the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model quite naturally from the OLS output. So here we have got some real-world data to calibrate our model on. Here are weekly US mortgage rates for a 12-year period approximately. So we can start modifying, normalizing our data to fit into the OLS form of the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model. First of all, our delta would be the rate of change of the interest rates. So interest rate today or this week minus interest rate last week. However, we need to normalize it, so we divide it by the square root of lagged interest rate. The constant term would be just 1 under normal circumstances, but here, as we're estimating the model using weighted least squares, we can adjust this 1, dividing it by the square root of the interest rate still. And for the lagged interest rate, we do need to effectively divide the lagged interest rate by its square root. However, that would simply result in us regressing it on the square root, as the value divided by its square root equals to the square root of the variable you started with. And we can enforce this normalization procedure, this weighting procedure, across the whole sample and start estimating our ordinal least squares regression. We can use the Linus function, inputting our adjusted delta in the interest rates as our dependent variable. And as our independent variables, we include the adjusted weighted constant and the weighted lag. An important part of the estimation is that we need to exclude the constant as we included it in the weighted format. And we do need additional statistics, first of all, to test for the statistical significance of the coefficients, and also to forecast the long-run volatility of the interest rates as per the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model. We can enforce this function using Shift-Control-Enter now and get the coefficients in the first row, the standard errors in the second row, and sigma towards the right-hand side of the third row. And these are all the parameters that we need to do statistical significance testing as well as long-run forecasting. So let's interpret the results. The test statistics would be coefficients divided by the respective standard errors, and we have got both coefficients around 2 in magnitude, which would generally signal at quite high statistical significance, around 5% confidence interval. To double check that, we can use the two-tailed t-distribution, inputting the absolute value of the t-statistics, as well as the number of the degrees of freedom locked. So here we need to lock the column. We can enforce it for both of the coefficients and verify that both are indeed statistically significant at 5%, showing that the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model is valid for this particular interest rate dataset. We also can verify that the estimator for negative A is negative, and we are happy to see that because A should be a positive number for convergence to take place, if you recall from our earlier discussion of the concepts behind the model. And we can retrieve the parameters explicitly from the OLS coefficients. So A would be the negative of the slope coefficient, and B, as the constant coefficient is the product of A and B, would be the constant coefficient divided by the convergence coefficient we have just estimated. And we will see that the long-run equilibrium interest rates on US mortgages are around 3%, which is certainly believable and plausible, and the convergence term is around 0.01, meaning that on average rates converge to the long-run equilibrium in around 100 weeks, which is certainly believable. 2 years is a reasonable period of time to circumvent any short-term business cycle or monetary policy disruption or shock that could bring interest rates substantially above or below the equilibrium value of 3.04 percentage points. To estimate the long-run volatility in the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model, we need to use the already well-known expression that has to do with the short-term volatility sigma given in this model as the standard error, as well as the coefficients of the model itself. Here we can see that in the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model, the volatility is the higher the value of the long-run equilibrium is, as indeed there is heteroskedasticity that tells you that higher rates result in higher volatility, as well as the convergence term, because the faster the rates converge to the equilibrium, the less long-run disturbance, the less long-run variance there would be. So these parameters, these coefficients of the model have quite intuitive economic explanations behind them. So to calculate the long-run volatility in the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model, we have to multiply the sigma term as the standard error of our OLS regression by the square root of our B parameter, the long-run equilibrium, divided by 2 times the convergence speed A. And that gives us a long-run volatility at 0.44 percentage points, so 44 basis points, which is also quite believable and quite comparable to the results we obtained from the Vasicek model in one of the previous videos. So that's all there is for the Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model to estimate the dynamics of interest rates and its comparison with the Vasicek model. Please leave a like on this video if you found it helpful. In the comments below, I'm eager to see any further suggestions for videos in business, finance, or economics topics you would like me to record. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.